Hello, in this video, we are going to interpret area models. In this first problem, we have 2,978 divided by 24. Now I notice we have a double-digit divisor. That means it's going to be much easier to set up an area model to solve this problem because of this double-digit divisor. So when I think area model, the first thing I do is set up my multiplication facts on the side. Notice I already did this here. I just need to quickly solve. Now, hopefully at this time, determining these facts is becoming a little bit quicker and you're recognizing these patterns. Then I can use that information to fill in my area model. But in this area model, it's a little bit different. I notice we have some numbers given to us already, but we also have some letters, which is representing that missing information. And in this problem, our goal is to determine what each of these letters are going to equal. The first thing is, let me do this in blue and first do my multiplication. So I see we have 24 times 1 is 24. And notice 24 times 10, well, 24 times 1 is 24, so 24 times 10 is 240. And 24 times 100 is 2,400. So again, hopefully you're noticing this pattern by multiplying by powers of 10. Then we have 24 times 2, which happens to be 48. And then 48 times 20 would be 480. And then 24 times 200 would be 4,800. And last but not least, 24 times 5. You might even want to write this out on the side in case you need. And we have 120. So now I have 120 is 24 times 5. 24 times 50 is 1,200. And 24 times 500 is 12,000. So notice here, this is all you need to do is first do your multiplication. Now again, you could choose any numbers for this. I just like to multiply by 1, 2, and 5 because it's easy multiplication facts. And now that I have this, I can use this information to help me solve my problem. Now, to determine the missing spaces, we're going to look here, and I see they gave us our divisor of 24. But I notice there's 2,400 already written there. But notice our dividend here is not 2,400. In fact, it's 2,978. So they already told us the first step. That's great. So they're like, well, you know what? 2,400 gets me really, really close or exactly to 2,978, which now I need to look on my side and I'm looking, well, where did I see 2,400? I'm going down my multiplication facts and I happen to see it right here. That's telling me 24 times 100 is 2,400 or 2,400. Now, yes, this is telling me that this is what W is. Now, typically when I do these problems, I like to ignore these variables or these letters, this unknown information that we have, and I just solve normally. And then I go back and see, well, okay, 100 is where I put W. So 100 is where I put W, therefore W is 100, but I'll save that for the end. So now I'm going to continue on. Now let me subtract and see what's left. So here I'm doing 9 minus 4 is 5, and we're left with 578. So if I look at 578, I'm like, well, I can clearly continue to make more groups of 24. So now I have X here, but we need to figure out what's going to be there. So I'm just going to bring 578 to my next column. So again, I'm looking down my side. Well, 24 times what number gets me really, really close to 578? Well, I see 480 is right here. This is great. 24 times 20, and in fact, look at here, they gave us 24 times 20. They told us that that's what X needs to be. So therefore, I'm going to put 480 here. Let me subtract. Now, 480, that's what we want for X. That's what's telling us 24 times 20 is 480. That's what's getting us really close to 578. So now let's subtract. We're going to borrow here, and we are left with 98. So now I'm getting even closer. So now I have 98. I'm going to bring this here. Now I notice what's given to me is I only have one box left. Now I don't see 98 anywhere here. And I only have one more box left. So this is the time when the information is given to you. Your multiplication facts might not always be extremely helpful. Well, they are helpful, but you might need to do one extra step. So yes, 24 times 4 gets me really close to 98. But now I'm going to decide and say, well, 24 times some number might get me even closer to 98. So let's try on the side. Let's do 24 times 4, and let's see what happens. And now we're left with 96. Well, that's great. That got me really, really close. So 24 times 4, and notice here I'm using 24 times 2 is 48. That helped me out. And I see 24 times 5 is 120. Well, that's a little too big. So maybe we could try 24 times 4. That's what helped me determine that. So now 24 times 4 is 96. And 96 is the number that's going to be Z. That's telling me what Z is going to be. Now, I put 98 here just because it's helpful to determine what I'm subtracting. I like to still write that out. So now I'm going to subtract, and we're left with 2. So even though we're left with 2, we know we're done because this is less than my divisor, and I can't make any more groups of 24. And I notice we have an R here. So that R is also R2. Okay, so my remainder is going to be 2. Or you could say R equals 2. That's what my remainder is. So now we did all this work. This is great. We found these missing pieces of information. We found what W, X, Z, Y, R is. We found that. That's great. Now my last step is to find my quotient. To find my quotient, I want to add all my numbers I'm circling together. So I have 100 plus 20 plus 4, which is actually my quotient in expanded form, giving me 124. Can't forget my remainder of 2. And that is telling me that that is the answer to this division problem. Now, I like when they give us variables or unknown pieces of information. We like to also represent what that is equal to as well, because the question wants us to find those unknown pieces of information. So W equals 100. And I know that because look, where I want to put 100, that's where W is. X, we know X is 480. And notice again, where you want to put 480, well, X is in the way. That's why X is 480. And Z as well is also 96. Notice we would have put 96 where Z is located. And we're using 96 to help us determine, well, we can continue making more groups of 24. In fact, we can make 4 more groups of 24. And notice here my Y value is 4, which we use that to help us find Z. So 24 times Y is Z, or 24 times 4 is 96. So now here we have Y is 4, and my R value, or my remainder, is 2. So notice I did restate what all of these unknown objects are. You did all this great work, and that's fabulous. You are finished and you are done. This is how you interpret an area model and finding those missing pieces of information.